Hello and welcome, dear students of class 11th. Today we are going to take up the chapter number 4 titled Quality, written by John Galsworthy. Today in this video lesson we are going to discuss the question and answers section of the text. The first question we have is, how long had the narrator known the Gessler brothers? The answer is, the narrator had known the Gessler brothers from a long time. He knew them from the days of his extreme youth, as he was taken to them at the young age of 14. The second question is, how he would never have tolerated in his house leather on which he had not worked himself. This shows that the shoemaker ticked the correct option. First, was a self-respecting man who was proud of his ability and talent to make exquisite shoes. Second, loved making shoes. Third, was aware that he made the best shoes in town. For this question, the first one is the correct option, which is he was a self-respecting man who was proud of his ability and talent to make exquisite shoes. The third question is, pick out the sentences in the second paragraph which show that the Gesslers were excellent shoemakers. Answer: the Gessler brothers were excellent shoemakers because their shoes lasted terribly long, and they would never tolerate in their house leather on which they had not worked. Besides, the shoes they made were so beautiful that they made water come into one's mouth. Such pairs could only be made by someone who saw before him the sole of boot. So truly were they prototypes incarnating the very spirit of all food care. The narrator feels that to make boots, such boots as they made, seemed to him then and still seems mysterious and wonderful. The fourth question is, making shoes was a work of art for the Gesslers. Means, first, for them shoemaking was just a business. Second, they enjoyed making shoes and were ready to compromise on quality of the workmanship. Third, they considered shoemaking an art and spent hours in producing shoes that were of the highest quality and of exquisite workmanship. The answer to this question is the third one. They considered shoemaking an art and spent hours in producing shoes that were of the highest quality and of exquisite workmanship. The fifth question is, how did the narrator differentiate between the two brothers? Who was the more skilled of the two? Find a sentence from the lesson to illustrate this. The answer is, the narrator differentiated between the two brothers by their facial complexion as well as the manner they speak. For example, as compared to the younger brother, the elder was watery and paler in every aspect, but was a hard-working shoemaker. And only after hearing the words, "I will ask my brother," the narrator would realize that it is the elder brother. And the second part of the question is, who was the more skilled of the two? The answer is, though the elder brother made good boots, but the younger one was more skilled of the two. This is presented to us in the story by the dialogue of the new shoemaker, who, praising the younger brother, says, "I will say that for him, not a man in London could make a better boot." Question number 6 is, why does the narrator compare the atmosphere of the shop to that of a church? The answer is, the narrator compared the atmosphere of the shop to that of a church because going inside the Gessler's shop was not like going to any other shop, where you would ask the salesman about the item you intend to buy and come out. In the Gessler's shop, one behaved in the most serious manner and waited on the single wooden chair until someone comes out and takes the order. Question number 7. The narrator says that the boots lasted terribly. Is it a compliment or a criticism? Explain. The narrator's words about the boots is a compliment. By lasted terribly, he means that the boots are long-lasting and very durable. Unlike any ordinary boot, the Gessler's product was genuine and a masterpiece, which lasted long enough. This delayed the narrator's visit to the Gessler's shop, thus he revisited only after a couple of months. Question number 8. And I would continue to rest in the wooden chair, inhaling the incense of his trade. Why did the narrator have to rest in the chair? What was the incense of his trade? The answer to the question is, the narrator rested in the chair because he was kept waiting in the shop before his order was entertained. The incense of the shoemaker's trade was the smell of leather and the tip-tap of bast flippers beating the narrow wooden stairs of the small shop. And the question number 9 is, on one occasion the shoemaker offered to take back the narrator's shoes. Why did he do so? Answer, the shoemaker offered to take back the narrator's shoe because of the complaint about the creaking of the shoe. The narrator complained to Mr. Gessler about the creaking of his town walking boots, which the shoemaker, after a little surprise, decided to take back and try to mend, and promised that if he is unable to do anything to the shoes, he will not charge fees. Question number 10 is, those big firms have no self-respect. Who said this? Who were the big firms he was referring to? What does this mean? Why did he say this? This dialogue was uttered by the younger Gessler brother. The big firms he was referring to were the boot-making brands or companies. It means that big firms do not care for the products they make. He said so after seeing the narrator wearing a boot from such a big firm, and after pressing his finger on the place in the left boot where it was not comfortable, he started criticizing those big firms. Question number 11 is, what were the changes that the narrator observed when he visited the shoemaker's shop after 2 years? Why had he not visited him for such a long time? The changes that the narrator observed when he visited the shoemaker's shop after 2 years were, firstly, that outside one of the 2 little windows of the shop another nameplate was painted. It was of another bootmaker who claimed making boots for the royal family. Secondly, the old shoemaker boots, no longer in dignified isolation, were huddled in the single window. Thirdly, it took longer than usual for someone to answer in the shop. He could not visit the shop because the pair of shoes he bought last time lasted more terribly than ever. Question number 12. Why did the narrator order 3 pairs of shoes when he wanted only 2? The narrator ordered for 3 pairs of shoes when he wanted only 2 because on hearing about how the brothers rented one shop due to their inability to bear the expense, he could not stop feeling guilty. Thus, as a gesture of help, he decided to buy 3 pairs. Question number 13. Why was the narrator shocked to receive the bill for his shoes? What did he do? The narrator was shocked to receive the bill of his shoes because he was not expecting them so soon. The first thing he did was to flee downstairs and write a check and post it at once with his own hand. Question number 14 is, what were the reasons that led to the death of the younger of the Gessler brothers? The cause of the younger brother's death was slow starvation. He kept the shop on whatever the situation, and wouldn't let anyone touch his boots except himself. He kept on working over his boots day and night to the very last and never gave himself time to eat and never had a penny in the house. The last question is question number 15. Why did the Gessler brothers lose customers even though they made the best shoes in town? The answer is they lost customers even after making the best shoes in town because whenever they got an order, it took them a lot of time to fulfill it. People don't wait for such a long time, thus they lost every customer. So this was all for the question and answer section of the chapter titled Quality, written by John Goldsworthy. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.